This marriage that is not working out well, you're frustrated with sexual things and all that. She probably is too. I don't know that. She's not her to ask. And now all of a sudden she's sick. She's burdensome. Okay? You got to run to the doctor. You got to stay home from work. She can't pick up the kids. You got to leave early to go pick up the kids. I'm thinking you guys get into an argument. She's not 100%. Okay? She's having a hard time breathing. She's labored breathing and all that. And, Julie, lay down, shut up. I know there was some type of contact there. There had to be in this chest area. Mark, there's no question about that. And the only person that could have done that was you. I'm thinking before you left, you pushed on her maybe. Now, she was frail at the time. She was frail, you said. She was labored breathing. That makes sense. I believe that. Okay? I know that probably happened. But she's frail. And you just instantly, I don't want to push her like that. And could that cause something? I mean, we have fatigue in the lungs. There's some type of contact here in the throat. There's also that indication on the throat, as I showed you Dr. Chambliss's report. It just did not appear there's something, and somebody had to touch her. That's the only way it could get there. There is no doubt about that. And did you push her, touch her on the throat, maybe like this?
I moved her in bed.
You were before death. Happened before death.
Exactly. No, okay. It'd be that morning. I was moving her around. I was helping her sit up in bed. I was moving her in the bed.
Okay. Now this has to be shortly before death. Not something that's, go like this and, it'll disappear.
Okay.
How were you helping her up in bed?
Right.
Now this was at 7:30 in the morning.
7:30.
No. That wouldn't go with the time of death. Couldn't have. Did you come in there maybe and then, Julie, wake up? Do you remember that? Maybe, this is 3-4 months ago. Do you remember doing something like that?
I would go in there and check on her. During the morning when I got back, again, to check and things like that. I may have moved her. I may have, the covers back up, maybe. Seems to me she was still on it, but there was no conversation or anything. It doesn't stand out.
Did you
I remember telling her back, it was I was moving her at some point, 10, 11, and then I left and she was asleep.
So at 10, 11 o'clock you did it?
Yeah, but it's hard to put a time frame.
Did you guys have an argument that day or anything like that? Well, you had some conversation. You had to tell her I was staying home from work.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was unapologetic because, not that much. That was more than Wednesday morning. Thursday morning, she was far enough gone.
Now, this finger thing, going back here to the neck. Now, you said you touched her maybe 10, 11 o'clock. Are you sure you did or you didn't?
I think I did.
Okay.
I think I did.
Okay. And doing what? You're covering her back up? Explain it to me.
Moving her, I think her leg was out of bed.
Uh-huh. You put her leg back up?
Put her leg back up.
Okay. Now you said before you didn't know about that. You're quite sure you did touch her, but you're recalling now that you did.
Yeah.
You covered her up, tucked her in.
10 months ago, I'm trying to picture what happened.
You're trying to tuck her in.
Right.
Okay.
I can't remember if it was early in the morning, but sometime during the morning.
Tucked her in. See, that wouldn't necessarily explain the items there. It takes, we're talking a kind of mere touching. Here we have a description of the fingernail type thing. Where we are here in this one.
She was asleep in that.
Yeah, in that area.
Okay, she was asleep on the sleeping pill. She was
Asleep on a sleeping pill.
She took a sleeping pill.
Okay.
She was out. To move her required
a lot of force.
A lot of effort. We pick her up.
Okay. Mark, how about this?
I think she was laying on her back. I was funny breathing. I think I rolled her onto her side when she was asleep.
Why would you roll her on her side while she's sleeping?
She was having babies and kids. You don't like to put on their back because they cough.
Okay.
And you do it on the side.
Okay, so now you rolled her up on her side, kind of like the way we found it?
Right. I mean,
You may have or you didn't.
I did, but I may have put her in that position, and that's where she was. I mean, if there's an arm funny, it might be because I rolled her over when she was there. Because she was on the sleeping pill that one.
Okay. So now, all the time you're thinking is before you left for work.
Yeah.
Before noon,
Before that.
you're picking her up because she's breathing funny and putting her out on her side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rolling over. She was. Yeah, because that morning I was standing behind her. And you're right about that. I was standing behind her and she was standing on the bed and I had one behind her. But when the kids went to school, I laid her back down and she was on her back.
And you rolled her up to her side.
And I grabbed it and rolled her over.
So you would have to get out of bed to do that, right? Or, because she was off on the one side of the bed.
Right.
You had to get up on the other side, or were you able to on her side?
I don't recall getting on the bed. I think I pulled her over.
Okay. You think or you did?
I did because I didn't get on the bed.
Okay. So let's just so that I got this clear on. Let's say you're truth, okay? You're laying back on your back, right? Now she's breathing heavy again. Right? This suction noise. Okay. And you come over and take her by the exactly how you do it. Take her by the shoulders. Do you remember?
I think by the hip.
By the hip.
By the hip and the butt.
Okay. So you're down here.
And the shoulder and the hip and the arm.
Across, something like this.
Right.
Okay, and roll her over.
Yeah.
Into the position that we found her.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, if there was an arm funny, maybe that's because it got rolled that way.
Yeah.
Depends on where she was.
Yeah. But see, I think it was kind of like she's on her side, and the arm is kind of like that, but she's laying on it, so to speak. You know, I really have to look at the photo to be accurate. But it's kind of, it's in there funny like this. So now this is about what time now you're. Before you left for work, so we're saying for work, yeah. 10 at noon?
10 goes.
Okay, so you rolled her up over that, and then what happened after you moved her?
What's the word?
What's the word?
I mean, I believe the breathing seemed to get better. I don't remember.
Now, how would we explain her nose being bent?
Like that. When I got home and found her, it didn't seem. Her face was in the pillow. I mean, she was laying there, and it was just, yeah, the pillow was just kind of, her face was into the pillow, and her nose was like that. And when I moved her, the nose stayed the same. But that was
That's what you came and found her.
right, but that was the extent that I moved her at that point. I didn't move her around the bed or change locations. It was just.
But see, when you moved her, you found her, when you're standing here like this, and the nose is down there, and you pull her back, you should fall back that way.
I didn't hold her that far back.
Okay, just up a little bit?
Yeah, that was more like a shaking her.
Okay.
And it was just enough to get the nose off the pillow, and I saw the nose stay like that. I just lost it at that point. I mean, yeah, you just.
That still doesn't explain how she stopped breathing.
Is it possible I rolled her over?
When you roll her over like that? Not your natural body weight with your head. Your head isn't very heavy. There's obviously some type of force in there. Okay, there's some type of force. Now, when you're turning her over before noon, the best time frame you put on it before, well, you figured you left about noon, right? So maybe this is 11? I don't know. You tell me. I know it's 4 months ago. Exactly. Well, we'll call it 11-ish. Okay, between 11 and 12. Fair enough anyway. You pull her up over that way because she's breathing real hard. Now, she doesn't wake up. Nothing. She just is out like, she wasn't passed away already? She was breathing, so she was breathing. Okay, she was breathing. Okay. So, how about, okay, you're turning her up this way, over. The nose is flat in there. Right. Did you touch her throat area then at that time? You think you could have?
I could have.
Anything, how much of she,
I was trying to fix the breather. Make her more comfortable, so that she coughs a little bit on something like that. I mean, it didn't come out. Whatever it took, I'm sure I grabbed a shoulder, a hip, a leg, whatever I could for leverage. Roll her over.
when you roll her up, start thinking about all things that have happened, you get pissed off a little bit, okay? And you push her. Could that have happened? Because, I mean, let's face it, now we got your marriage is not going well, okay? We have some sexual problems, which relates to you not having a good marriage. You both don't trust each other. She's becoming a bother at this point. I mean, she's, you guys aren't friendly. I think that's safe to say. She's sick. You have to run to the doctor. You got to run the kids too. You're at a new job. There's pressure, as you mentioned, at work. I mean, everybody's, oh my God, what's wrong with Mark? I'm sure that's affecting your performance at work. It has to. It does affect everybody. Personal things matter. Okay? Now, all of a sudden, you're getting there, you're pulling her over. Son of a bitch, Julie. You're pain. I said to my wife, you're a pain in the ass. We've had our disagreements and all that stuff. And maybe you just, damn it, you're just frustrated because now you got to pick up the kids, you got to drop them off, all that. What was your frame of mind at that time? You had to be irritated. Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine you. I don't know. You were there alone.
Yeah, I can't recall long enough. I got angry for a moment, I don't recall it.
Did you? Did you get angry at a moment, Mark? Think about it hard. Is it possible? There has to be an explanation here, Mark. We're teasing your mind and we're bringing it around here and I think we're making some progress. Okay? And I know it's 4 months ago. It's harder than it is.
The chest going through and I rolled her over. But I don't recall getting angry at her.
Okay.
I get angry at her and grab her head and force her into the phone. No.
So I'm thinking that would explain the throat, that as you're doing this, okay. Now again, you were there, I wasn't, so I don't want no maybes, because I don't want to be here trying to figure that. I mean, it's a big puzzle. We're trying to put it all together, okay? And I need your help to do that, okay? And I mean, I seem to be jogging your memory. At first you said you didn't touch her at all until you found her dead.
Right.
Okay? Now you come back and told me she was breathing heavy. I went out, got some errands done. That's right. It's 4 months ago. Understandable. Okay? Now you're saying, yeah, I grabbed her and pulled her over because she had the labor breathing, trying to get her to cough up. I'm not big on babies, but isn't that how you usually make a reference to that?
Right.
Okay? Now, when you bring her over, now that would be consistent with the findings. Is there some way, now it's a fingernail thing, something like this, with your hand or your finger in that part of the neck.
So I could have really easily.
If it would have taken some force, I mean, it would have been a squeeze. Now, you said you weren't on the best frame of mind. So, now, before we can kind of recall that one hand down here by the buttocks, one up by the shoulder, maybe, I don't know, you were there. I don't know. Did you come up here and then you went with here with the neck? Because that would fit. Because this is the right side, and now we have this fingernail thing here. So, I mean, that's something you almost got to do consciously. It's not something, I mean, whether you grab the shoulder or whether you grab the neck, it's got to be something kind of conscious here.
To grab it and
you know, Mark were maybe a little pissed, you know, kind of went, God damn it, Julie, you know, the pain in the ass. I said, you know, it kind of went like this and then thought she'd be okay to walk away. Did that ever happen?
I may have, as I was trying to roll her over, have grabbed because.
But did you grab her neck? Well, that's the important issue here.
I may have.
And then if you grab the neck, you would have had to put some force in here to leave that mark that's noted in Dr. Chambliss's report. That, what does he call it? They've got a little fingernail. Anyway, there's got to be a fingernail in there, which shows some type of, you know, little force from a fingernail. Now, you usually, okay, you got longer nails than I normally do. Okay, you got a little bit down. See, I don't have too much at all. But you put that on there, you know, squeeze my wrist. And I can feel your nail. You know, and anybody will. Okay. Now, take that wrist, be in the neck. Yeah. Well, I think something more than that. I'd have to ask the doctor, but it was noticeable where they noticed it at the autopsy.
Okay.
So, now you were there, I wasn't. I think we're on to something here. Okay? You roll her over, maybe afterwards, God damn it, Julie. You know, something like that. I mean, you guys were in the best frame of mind.
No, but did I grab her neck and squeeze it purposely? No.
No, I'm not saying you did. I'm not saying you did. But well, I guess one thing we need to determine, did you touch her neck?
I can't specifically recall grabbing her here, or here.
Okay. But you did grab her
I
somewhere.
would have grabbed her here in the process of rolling her over.
Okay.
You roll it to me.
You shouldn't grab by the neck because the shoulders are on the head.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm just trying to be honest here. I think if I were to grab somebody here, roll over, you want to get to the ends.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And get the ends, like if you had, like if I wanted to turn this over, I would hold it here, and in here, I would grab it like this. That would be the way to turn it over.
Right.
Now, not by here. And the same with the body, especially if you're on their back, you go to the back end of it because the head's over, and then bring it on over. Okay? That would be the only way you grab it.
Right.
Now, maybe in some adjusting or something, Mark, I don't know. I can only guess, and I'm hoping I'm jogging your memory here a little bit.
Figuring that, you know, even if it wasn't the cause, you know,
Well, there'd have to be some type of force. I mean, just by the simple, I mean, the mere me touching you there, I mean, you're not going to die, okay? That ain't going to happen. But you were there, I wasn't. And I'm thinking, not necessarily consciously, you got the kids, you're running around, okay? You guys had to drop off the kids at school, you had to go pick up a check at what's his name's place, you had to, where else did you say you go? You had to call the office, daycare, Southport School with the kids, you're chasing around, she comes home, we have this breathing, okay? Probably a little, you know, gosh, yeah, you know, and you're in a hurry, you know, haste makes waste to the same goes, happens to me all the time. I'm an impatient person, always want to get things done. Sometimes, you know, say when you're trying to fix something, you put too much pressure on, you break it. You come over, grab Julie on the shoulder by there, bring her on there, and then, God damn it, Julie, you know, maybe a little bit unconsciously, but I don't know. I'm just trying to help jog your memory. Because before you said you didn't touch her, now I keep talking about it, you did, and you brought her over.
that's about as good as I can get with it. I mean, again, I remember rolling her over. But, I mean, you know, imagine yourself laying in bed, if you're grab the shoulder,
Yeah.
and then you grab the leg, or something like that.
The neck would be kind of be out of the way, actually.
Right, unless I did something like that. But I can't see the reason to do that.
Yeah, and you have to come around, fingernails at the end of the fingernails up in here.
Fingernail?
Well, that's what it says in the report, a fingernail. So it could have been thumbnail, fingernail, I'm sure what you mean. It just seems easier by the neck, but, you know, to bring this up, and then come, you know, that's a little bit out of the way of the neck.
Yeah.
So, and then I would think if we were doing this, you would specifically remember that, because it would be out of the way.
Yeah, I don't recall. I mean, the end of that, I want you to do it here. I mean, you want to grab the neck.
And it's located right in here, your foot.
I'm not sure what's there.
I really don't.
It isn't enough pressure.
I can come here if you want to read it for yourself. But this is out of order now, this is pretty wiped up here. But right here. I'm still under the opinion here that there's something accidental that took place here.
Well, what I don't understand what I've been spinning on for 4 or 5 months is where what was going on with her to cause the condition she was in. I mean, she didn't get out of bed. I mean, they have to know that her physically, she was wrapped. There was nothing in her system she wasn't eating. It got to the point she wasn't eating until the shot. Tried to feed her, she wouldn't eat. Didn't drink water the last day. She tried Thursday morning and choked out.
Water.
Couldn't get it down.
I thought she slept most of that.
It's just she did, it was a little bit early. I mean, early when the kids got up. Funny breathing. I'm sure there was water or something there.
Well, she had to get up to get the water.
I brought it to her. She did not get up a bit.
So you did have some conversation. She asked you to get a glass of water.
No, I got it for her. She had nothing to say. David, and after the fact, I think she was giving me indications like nodding her head or something like that. David said that she couldn't talk that way.
She should have could have because it's, but I still have I have to explain how she stopped breathing, and it wasn't natural. So I thought maybe we were getting somewhere with, you recall now touching her sometime around 11 because of her labored breathing.
I recall rolling her over.
And then there's of course this here. I don't know what to make. What's your spin on this letter?
There was a time I thought she was giving me something.
Right?
You go through here, and this is where I was surprised. Remember, she didn't do this, but all of a sudden she's looking through here. And there was a time, and the guys in the office too, I mean, it gets down to, my word about something. Talk to you guys in the office. But I mean,
I'm not sure what I would ask her if I were. You thought Ellie was giving you some poison?
Exactly. I would take something and I would be heaving, in 15 minutes. They got it.
Okay, I don't know what you're showing me here.
Ain't there. Eyes running down. Hardly.
I thought this was notes on Julie. This is on
maybe there was another.
That was on November 20th, and I recall we looked at this and you were telling me this was notes that you made on Julie, not you.
Those are generally Julie. There's another final one here.
Now, most all these notes for Julie?
Yes. Yeah, those are Julie.
What do you think what kind of poison she was giving you?
I don't know. I asked her about it. Yeah, I got instantly ill.
Yeah? What would you say when you asked her? So did you call this stuff up on the poison stuff? Because there's a lot of antidotes here. Did you call them up on the internet?
No.
Okay, then she must have.
tier.
Oh, you got the whole thing. Now that's just kind of November's part here, and you have the rest of your book here. You need to freshen up your cup of coffee, bathroom, anything like that?
Bathroom, so yeah, coffee would be good.
Okay. Okay. You need to go to the bathroom?
No.
Okay, I do. Why don't you go through here?
Okay.
Find the points of where she was trying to, now, let's back up here so I'm clear.
I can't say that she was, this would be,
That she thought maybe she was, and then you would start feeding her.
right.
Okay, did you make any mention to Dr. Gorman about that?
Said it was C-form, and I saw form, and
So there's nothing in here.
on medications.
Yeah, there's nothing in here on that,
No.
on the poisoning thing. When did you eat?
Back in November, I think that was.
Let's see what you got here. Oh, sorry here. Yeah, there's April, June, July. These are all pretty much notes now. When you started feeding, when did that occur? October?
Before I eat this stuff, there's probably gonna be some stuff in there that was mine,
Okay, this here.
on the aspirin.
Okay.
It is because of the bottles of aspirin, you're right, I remember, and it just came to me. I remember going to the internet looking for things on aspirin overdose. This was after she got sick and kicked in the carpet.
That was when you were in St. Louis.
Right. Yeah, this is after I got that. I remember showing it. Yeah.
So some of this stuff may be yours.
So maybe like.
Any of the poison stuff, antidote stuff, or anything like that?
Would have been.
Well, I can understand why you would have done that, because she's trying to.
I don't, yeah.
When did this occur with this? You thought she was poisoning you? When you eat something and it would be even 15 minutes later.
Right.
Was that at home?
At work, at home. It was at home.
You remember when?
There was a time when I went.
Just one?
A couple. Couple times.
And what? Do you remember what months? Did you write it down in your book?
I'm sure I did. Somewhere in November, December.
Well, here, they got, now November is right here kind of on the top.
Okay. Go through.
Why don't you just go through there real quick? Let me run off to the bathroom real quick.
Okay.
Okay, let's go. It's just right around the corner here. Okay.
I was trying to fast forward, Judge, I don't know if it looked like it. That's fine, fast forward, but it looked like it paused. That's fine.
Okay. So we were at, you thought Julie was maybe giving you something twice? Do you remember?
A couple of times. It's three questions.
Remember what she gave you, or was it during meals?
It'd be during meals.
Did you tell anybody about that?
Yeah.
Who did you tell?
Guys in the office.
That you thought Julie was poisoning you?
Okay, yeah, and again, it would be a joke about being careful what doing jokes with duct taping her up, putting her in the back of the truck and taking her to the hospital. And all that crazy behavior. I mean, she was off the wall, you know, she told her work and she'd just be ripping in the pavement. For nothing. And the most notable time was in the Dark County. Well, David was kind of detached. And he didn't want to be in the house. He wanted to live at the pool table in the bar and waiting for stuff to get dinner. That upset her. By the time we sat down, he was 9 years old. And someone hit the end of the fork with his cardio regardless. And a real rough voice in the dining room, she hollered at me, "You're a real fucking genius, aren't you?" And other people's heads turned.
I'm a little frustrated. We all get there. I understand.
But David, you know, I mean, it was like, but then you asked her about that, and she didn't know, she said.
You know, we've been talking about different things here, but we still, let's get back to why Julie suffocated. How did it? Let's stay focused here on that. What happened? What can you tell me to disprove that?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I mean,
Would you be willing to take a polygraph? Mark, would you? I could set that up today here or something like that. Would you be willing to take a polygraph?
yeah, I mean, but
we can arrange that.
okay.
Because, one other thing we gotta think about here too, what are your parents gonna say when they read all of this? This report's gonna be made public eventually, okay? And everybody pretty much has a history of it, what's going on here. And what do you think they're gonna happen here? And you don't have an explanation on it. What are you gonna tell them? What are you gonna tell them? You gotta say, I don't know, Mom, I don't know, Dad, I don't know her family. They're gonna think you had something to do with her death. They are. That is gonna happen. How are you gonna explain this to them? That's why there is an answer here, Mark, and you need to tell me what that answer is. I don't think you did it on purpose. I know you did. I don't think that for 1 minute. There has to be an explanation, and I don't know where to go on that.
Let me ask you this. She was having a very hard time breathing. Is that in any way, could that be connected with?
According to Dr. Chandler's, no. They say that it's completely ruled out. She died of asphyxia with a petechiae of the lungs and an injury on the neck.
Showing she
Some type of shoulder push or something like that to cause that injury. So, you're willing to take I have a guy, his name is Detective Meredith. He does the polygraphs for us. He's, I could probably, let's get this all over with and run a quick one on you if you're willing. All right, let's get this out here.
all the crazy things about it.
He would be a better person to ask for that. I can tell you this, the Detective Meredith is professional. He knows what he's doing. He's been doing this for a while. It's, a machine that aids him in believing or not believing. I know you hear these wild stories about that. That is not true. Those are not true. He would be a much better person willing to take a look at that and let us do a little polygraph and see where we can go from here. But I need you now if there's, because we're going to go over and ask you some of the same questions, okay? Now I want you to think real hard, what hasn't been accurate that you've told me so far? Let's start with the pictures. Okay? Everything you told, now you admitted that you did not make any. Is that true?
Right.
Okay. Now if he asks you that question, the machine's going to say, same thing, you're telling the truth, right? You did leave some around there, you did mislead Julie, and in turn pretty much mislead the police on how they were being found. They were mailed to you at work, and some of them on the truck, but when you
Not in the house.
Not in the house, just doors outside. So somebody had to break in your house to put them in there.
Right.
Okay, that's a little hard to believe, Mark. Somebody broke into your house and put that photo in the lot. They didn't take anything? They didn't do anything?
I don't recall anyone being,
I thought there was some in the house. You mentioned in the garage. You said there was some found. And there was some in the living room. When we first started, you said you found them in the house.
oh, that's why we had the locks changed.
Oh, still, somebody had to break into your house. That's hard to believe, Mark. Okay? And you guys are home. That's hard to believe. Now, I don't want this polygraph to come back and say, lie, when it's unique. And it doesn't matter here. It does, so what? I mean, nothing's gonna happen here. All you need to be is you're only gonna hang yourself here. Okay? And we don't want that. Okay? It's just gonna make you look like you're being untruthful with me. We don't want that. So if you were putting them around the house, tell me now. Or did you do the whole thing? That's gonna tell whether.
No.
Okay, the ones around it. Did you do the whole thing at the house? Now, I understand they came in from the mail at work, but when they were found in the house, around the house, did you do all that? No. Somebody broke into your house then and left them around the house.
But I don't recall him broke in the house. I don't recall
Open the door.
in the house per se that I ever found.
Well, she found some.
I did not put them in the house per se.
Okay. Now, when we get to asking you about if you turned the body, okay, and were you mad at that point? Were you frustrated with Julie? You told me you weren't.
I can't recall
Okay.
being.
You can't recall being, well, that would be your memory. Now, the machine's not going to show something different. Okay. If I ask you, Mark, did you kill Julie? What is that polygraph going to tell me there? No. It's going to say that when you say no, it's going to say you're not lying. Okay. Did you have anything to do with her death? Did you, at one point, get a little frustrated with her? Like I explained to you before, which I could see happening, because we had this history here of before marriage. Okay, the marriage was not good. Okay? And you were frustrated, and she's sick and not well. The kids, you had to do 10 other items because Julie was sick. And you were frustrated. What was your frame of mind at that time? The machine's going to pick that up. You need to be honest. I don't want to hear a different answer. Okay? I want you to be honest with me. I would think you would be kind of frustrated. I see this all the time with shaken babies. They cry and all this and that. You just get pissed off. And you shake it. Okay? And that's where I see where you're being at here. Okay? You're irritated. You're pissed off, probably the wrong word, but anyway, you're frustrated. Okay? She's sick, not sick. And then we move her. And God damn it, Julie. And you're just frustrated, and you grab her throat or something. And she was sick, and it's not your fault, because she's already sick already. She's having a hard time breathing. You just kind of put it over the edge. You maybe grabbed her here, or give her a shot there. That's what I think happened here. Now, did you mean to do that? Absolutely not. You were a little frustrated. She was frail and weak at the time. She was labored breathing like this. And just that shot, as innocent as you could put to me right now, wouldn't hurt me at all. But to her, it's a whole different story. You didn't know that. You couldn't tell that. And you gave her a shot in the ribs, not knowing that. Is that what happened, Mark? No. I don't want the polygraph to come around and say that differently. And if we said, hey, I gave her a shot in the ribs. Okay, I was a little man, I was a little frustrated. God damn it, Julie. And then away you went. But, and like I said, I get myself and you don't feel it. But she's frail. She hasn't been eating well. She's sick. She's under a doctor's care. That just encouraged something. Or maybe it hit her on the throat or something. I don't know. You didn't touch her in any way like that. You didn't put a pillow over her head.
No.
Okay. All right. The machine's not going to tell me different.
No, the only thing I can think of is might have I rolled her over.
And that didn't happen. We know that because of her nose. There's enough there to breathe. You didn't, roll her over into the pillow or like an infant baby and was suffocated in the pillow. That's absolutely ruled out. Okay? There was some type didn't take much. That's very, you're heavy breathing like this, and you get a shot to the lungs, it's like taking the wind away. And would that stop something? Absolutely. Could you a shot? Just like, now it doesn't hurt, it stings a little bit, but, just a good shot here, you hit it, it takes your breath away. Now, if you hit it right here in CPR, when you do CPR, you're supposed to go here and measure 2 fingers up and, do your compressions. If you were to hit something like right there, and I forget what they call that, but that'll knock the wind out of you. We've all had wind knocked out of us, yeah. And that could have happened. Same with the neck area. Come up there and just give her a shot, and the normal person wouldn't have stopped her breathing. But she's sick, she's frail, she's hard of breathing, she's under a doctor's care, you're frustrated, everything's just not going exactly right. You got 20 things to do today, pick up, drop off the kids, the grocery store, who's gonna make dinner, and you just, you said, like you said before, you weren't sure on how you weren't exactly real gentle. Well, she's not light, she's 100 some pounds plus. You gotta turn her. So, and I find it very believable that shot somewhere. But purposefully? No. Accidentally? Categorically, no. Okay. I'm covering this with you. No, come back later. Okay. But there's got to be an explanation here. Where's the explanation mark? And do I think anything on purpose? Absolutely not.
Something heavy breathing, that's her condition at the time has nothing to do with.
No. I've asked them left and right about that. No. Dr. Chambers mentioned that when you read over the report, well, a little as we've been talking about and reading, but that's what he says. Why don't we see if Detective Meredith is available? Let me get on the board, get a hold again, and you want to take polygraph, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me think I did something.
I don't know, Mark. Do I think you did something? Yes. You had to have. Where else? Show me something that you did, Mark. Yes, you had to have. But she just didn't stop reading on her own. I've asked Dr. Chambliss, Dr. Lavin, I've beat them up left and right on the phone. What could possibly have done this? And I'm telling you just like it is, Mark. There's nothing else out there. So, nothing. So,
Did you want to take a phone call or no?
Pardon? No. Okay. Have you met Mark Jensen?
No.
This is my partner, Detective Edward.
Nice to meet you.
She's a little bit familiar with your case. We're both working on your case a little bit. And, do you have any questions on you've looked over the reports? That you're somewhat familiar with this case.
Yeah. I think one of my questions was that throughout the reports and through everything that was sent up, what happened that morning specifically?
Let me grab that call. Okay, I'll let you guys.
On the morning that she died, did she get breakfast? Did she get out of bed? She stayed in bed?
Very hard time breathing, hardly move on her own.
Okay, and what time would that be?
6:30 on.
6:30, she was having a hard time breathing? And were you concerned that this would be something
Absolutely.
life-threatening?
I was very concerned about it.
I mean, as far as life-threatening?
Yeah. Because the breathing was.
Did you contact your doctor or something?
I think the day before. That was a big question in my mind as to whether I have to call the ambulance that morning or bring her somewhere.
Okay. What was your routine that morning? I mean, 6:30, so she was having a hard time breathing. Did you get ready for work? I mean, did she have the kids ready? What was
Kids are ready, gave them a lot of tips up to preschool, came back, got cleaned up a little bit later. Like 9-ish, 10, something like that.
9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, you're good?
Check for a client.
Okay.
They granted it, I can't remember exactly what it was, I remember
kind of just say, hey, you okay, do you need something, you need to get you a glass of water, maybe you need to get you something. We didn't check on it at that point.
Well, she was out of it. She had been sleeping till that morning, so she was totally
Just went out.
out of it, yeah. And then the day before, put her out for how long she was.
Your Honor, I think there's some things that need to be taken up outside the presence of the jury before I commence my redirect.
Okay, great. Folks, please come up on the case. Please all rise.
The presence of the jury, based upon the exchange, you heard the exchange is about a polygraph exam. And under State v. Hoffman, if there is an offer to take a polygraph, and here the suspect agreed to take a polygraph exam, there was no mention of a polygraph thereafter. I mean, when Detective Berg then came in.
Here, let's just hold on a second. We're going to take a break to the lawyers and myself, and would you come back, please?
You heard significant discussion about a polygraph exam, and the defendant agreed to take a polygraph exam. And then Detective Ratzburg left the room. Detective Berg took over. It's my understanding that Detective Ratzburg came back into the room. There was no further discussion of a polygraph. And the defendant and the detective parted ways with the understanding that the defendant was going to contact the detective the next day. And instead, the detective heard from the defendant's attorney, Mr. Shello, who told him that Mr. Jensen would not be coming in. Now, my understanding under State v. Hoffman is the way it works is this. If a defendant offers to take a polygraph, that can be admissible on behalf of the defendant. If the defendant offers to take a polygraph and then withdraws the offer, that's admissible against the defendant. And that's what I think happened here. But I didn't want to raise this issue in front of the jury without giving court and counsel an opportunity to mull that issue over. So what I was going to do was ask Detective Ratzburg when he comes back again, when he gets back on the stand. You notice he's not in the courtroom right now, I don't believe. Did you ever discuss any more that day, the idea of a polygraph exam with the defendant? And he'll say no. And I'll ask him if you parted ways with the understanding that one or the other was going to contact the other one the next day. And I believe he'll say yes. And then I'll ask him if he ever was able to schedule a polygraph with the defendant, and he'll say no. And I'll ask him why not. And he'll say that Attorney James Shello contacted him the next day, advised him that he was representing Mr. Jensen, that he was not to talk to Mr. Jensen.
Mr. Albee?
Judge, I don't recall ever seeing any report or any information that a polygraph was being taken the following day. There's no communication from Mr. Shello indicating that he won't take a polygraph. He just simply said, inquiry follow-up goes through me. And there was no request ever on the part of the Pleasant Prairie Police Department after that time for Mr. Jensen to take a polygraph. He was asked during this recorded statement, as the court saw, if he'd take it. He immediately said yes, and that was the discussion. And I certainly have had no notice regarding anything in the future that was supposedly said. I don't have any notice of Mr. Jensen's statements after that, and in discussing what Mr. Shello had to say, Mr. Ratzburg's report doesn't say that Mr. Shello said that Mr. Jensen would not take a polygraph. So I think it remains as it is, and certainly that was all a consideration when I entered into stipulation to play these 140 pages.
Mr. Jimboy?
Well, I direct counsel's attention to page 17 of a report dated April 28th, 1999. And the last paragraph reads, on 4/22/99, I was contacted by Jim Shello at 414-271-8535, an attorney who represents Mark Jensen. He requested a copy of all reports and has advised Mr. Jensen not to have any conversation with the police. I thought you'd indicated there was no indication that.
You didn't say you wouldn't take a polygraph, that's what I said, and that's true.
So there's discussion of a polygraph on April 21st, 1999, in clearly a pretty aggressive interview context. The discussion of the polygraph is simply left at that point, about 2.5 hours into the interview. The parties depart with the understanding that there's going to be further conversations between them, leaving open the avenue of a polygraph examination. And instead of the defendant contacting the detective or the detective contacting the defendant, instead the next day, the defendant by this time has contacted an attorney, and the attorney has said there will be no further conversations between him and the police, thereby foreclosing the possibility of a polygraph exam.
We have several problems. That's a different story than we started out with, because I thought Mr. Jamboy started out saying Mr. Ratzburg was going to meet him the next day for a polygraph, and that was not any kind of purpose of any future meeting. It was not arranged to have a polygraph. Second, we get into a whole problem of Mr. Jensen asserting his right to counsel, which generally is not admissible, and I don't see any reason for it to be admitted here. He did not decline to take a polygraph, and it's the police that never followed up requesting a polygraph. He had counsel. There's no request through counsel to take the polygraph, and no arrangements were made beforehand. Mr. Shello didn't cancel a polygraph appointment.
I want to think about this one. Let's start again at 25 after.
Very well, Your Honor.
And do you have the site on that case too?
Yes, sir.
I haven't looked at it in years.
Well, also it's 608.4, pages 412 and 413 and 414 in Blinka on Wisconsin evidence. But the case is State v. Hoffman, 106 with 2nd, 185. And also you want to look at State v. Wolford, 202 with 2nd, 523. And in State v. Wolford, the footnote says it limits Hoffman to cases involving a mere offer to take a polygraph or the withdrawal of an offer of such an offer. Specifically, Hoffman does not permit evidence that a polygraph was actually taken in the result of the test. So Wolford is actually the case that stands for the proposition I just cited to the court.
Take a look at them.
Thank you.
One more point. The problem is, I mean, one of several problems here, is those cases presumably arise in the context of the defendant trying to put in the polygraph information beforehand. It's not allowing the state, after the fact, to introduce evidence, I don't think, of simply asserting right to counsel, and which is generally not admissible, and there isn't. In fact, as I said, no specific refusal to take a polygraph or withdrawal of an offer. But those cases come beforehand. We have a stipulation that evidence came in, and we can't be said to have opened the door. I didn't elicit that evidence, so I don't think the responsive evidence that the state wants to put in on it.
Well, Your Honor, if you'll remember, I didn't want to go to page 140. That was an agreement between the parties. I had wanted to stop at several pages, maybe 30 pages before we got to that point. It was only as a kind of compromise.
I don't want to, the record's what the record is. There was a stipulation, it was received in the way it was, so let's not backtrack about what some person wanted to do or some person didn't. It was a compromise.
The court, and Blinka, who, as I said, is from one of the 2 best law schools in the state, writes, an analogous problem would arise if a defendant, while being interrogated by police, volunteered to take a polygraph to prove the truth of what he said. Depending upon the circumstances of the state, either the state or the defense may seek to introduce this offer, irrespective of whether a test was conducted or its outcome.
I'm actually going to borrow your book too.
Okay.
All right? And we'll start again in, half past now.
It's actually, I think this is the Walworth County, Phil Coss's book.
Okay, thank you. decision where the Supreme Court says the defendant has the right to stop at any time is out the window?
No, I'm not saying anything of the sort. I didn't say anything like that here. Here's what I said.
Yeah.
And here's my understanding of what the facts are. You saw that portion of the
Right.
interview. I will tell you that this interview ended up being concluded sometime after 4 p.m., that the detective and the defendant parted with the understanding that they'd be getting together again the next day. That we heard testimony from Dave Nearing, who indicates that the defendant went from there to Stiefel Nicholas, at the office of Stiefel Nicholas in Racine. Said that the defendant looked as though he'd just seen a ghost, he was white, he was shaking, even his speech was somewhat disturbed. Said that he'd gone there after he'd picked up David or Douglas or somebody. Then the next morning, the very next morning, before Detective Ratzburg could contact the defendant's attorney contacted him and said, Mr. Jensen is represented by this attorney, Mr. Shello, and that Mr. Shello has advised this defendant to not talk to the police. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, except that during the course of this during the course of this interview, there was significant discussion about a polygraph. The defendant had agreed to take the polygraph. And then, at the time that presumably the polygraph was going to be set up, the next morning, instead of setting a polygraph, the defendant's attorney calls and says, my client won't be talking to you any further.
And here's I guess maybe my question wasn't clear. So let's take the polygraph out of it and just have a regular police interrogation. And the defendant says, I'm going to come back tomorrow and we'll discuss this further. And then instead, his lawyer calls the next day and says he's decided he doesn't want to talk anymore. Now, do you think you could introduce evidence that the defendant said he was going to come back the next day but never did?
No, that isn't going to be admissible.
Well, you're doing the same thing.
No, I'm doing a different thing because the understanding was that they were going to get together the following day, and the discussion had been about a polygraph and other things.
The polygraph is, he's got to, unless he can take a polygraph without saying anything, and that'll be a technology that's going to astonish me. He's going to have to make statements in order to take the polygraph, and the Supreme Court of the United States says he's got the right to stop.
Yes.
By the way, Professor Blinka from the most prestigious law school, certainly in the state, is of the opinion that, well, let's see his exact statement. It is suggested that the dicta referred to above should not be followed. And he gives reasons, which I think are pretty persuasive. I'm going to give you a moment, Mr. Albee, to supplement the record before I deny the district attorney's request.
It seemed foolish to say anything else.
Well, I know, but I want you to be able to supply additional information for the record. I suppose you could talk me out of it.
I just stay silent.
Yeah, I think we'd run afoul of the Miranda case because the defendant has the right to stop. That's the law. The Supreme Court never said that the police had to tell the defendant he has the right to stop, although they routinely do. But he has the right to stop, and I think stop would include not coming in and taking a polygraph.
Well, I want to make sure that I don't violate the court's edict.
I do too.
So, yeah, I know you do. Am I permitted to ask this witness, were you ever able to schedule a polygraph exam with this defendant?
Yeah, why don't we do this? Why don't I just instruct the jury that polygraph evidence is inadmissible in the courts of the state of Wisconsin, period.
Because it's evidence of consciousness of innocence.
Aha.
He wants to press the matter.
No, I mean, here's the thing.
What do you want to make with it? Because you do have...
We have a stipulation. This evidence is in. I didn't put it in. That wasn't I didn't just put this evidence in. This evidence is in. And that's all there is to it. It's not admissible, as the court has said, that he asserted his rights. And the problem with even the question Mr. Jamboy suggested is that no one ever asked Mr. Shello. And attorneys do agree to polygraph examinations. So, I mean, that would be the follow-up. That wasn't asked. So, I think it's just an area we don't get into.
Why should I not tell the jurors? Because, come on now, let's be realistic. The jurors are going to be wondering about this. Why should I not tell the jurors? And hey, I'm not telling them anything about whether there's consciousness of innocence or why he may have been motivated or whatever. I'm telling them that under no circumstances can the results of a polygraph be admitted in evidence in this state, period.
Well, the jury is wondering about all sorts of things they don't have answers to, I suspect, in this case. And there isn't a polygraph. I mean, it's not as though evidence came in that one was taken. So they don't have to wonder about results. They don't have any of that in front of them.
But you see, I don't have to worry about their wasting time thinking about it. I don't have to worry about their speculating about it if I simply tell them that there are no circumstances under which they're going to hear it because the law does not permit it, period.
Oh, Judge, I don't believe that you wouldn't have to worry about that. I'd have to worry about it even though you instructed the jury. Let's say you instructed the jury. By the way, you heard the defendant deny that he never had sexual relations with Kelly Levante. You were instructed to disregard that. Do you think they're going to disregard it? Of course they're not going to disregard it. They can't. Even though you instruct them to, that horse is out of the barn.
The fact that you guys by stipulation put something in evidence doesn't alter the fact that I have a responsibility to make sure these jurors know what the situation is. And the situation is that there's no circumstances under which the results of a polygraph would have come into evidence in this case, period.
And I don't have a problem with the jury being instructed
Isn't that what I said?
That's what you said, but I don't have a problem with that.
I thought you were disputing the court doing it.
No, I don't have a problem with you doing that.
misunderstood you.
But that doesn't mean I'm done, because I still believe I should be permitted to ask this witness, was a polygraph ever conducted?
Yeah, I know you do.
Well, my other concern is that the court creates a new level of speculation. And when the court talks about results, then these folks may be thinking, well, there was a polygraph taken, and what were the results, and why aren't we hearing them? And you've said they're inadmissible, but now they may be wondering about, they may believe that one was taken.
And if they do?
Well, I agree they should not be thinking that. There was no polygraph taken. If they're going to speculate about something, they should speculate about something that is actually true. And I think that, now I wouldn't have a problem with the court instructing the jury. Number one, polygraph evidence is absolutely inadmissible in the state of Wisconsin under any circumstances. Number two, there was no polygraph taken in this case in any event.
No. No. You want to make your last pitch?
No.
Okay. I'm going to instruct the jury that there are no circumstances in which evidence of the result of polygraph is admissible in the courts of the state of Wisconsin, period.
I would object to that instruction without the jury also being instructed that no polygraph was taken. And, I'll tell you.
Why? It's irrelevant whether a polygraph was taken because it wouldn't come into evidence anyway.
It's irrelevant to you.
Yeah, and that's the way it's going to stay.
But it's not irrelevant.
Yeah, well, I'm in charge of this department. Ask the jurors to come in, please.